whenever you are, Candace. Okay, let's do this. Good morning, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order at 9:03 a.m. this morning. In the true spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge all those who call this land home now and for thousands of years in the past. May we respect each other and find understanding together and recognize the benefits that this land provides to all of us. If we look down at our agendas, we have two time commitments today. We have our two public hearings scheduled to commence at 10 a.m. this morning. Councillor Van Essen will be joining us. He just had to chair a Chamber of Commerce meeting in the town of Pitcher Butte this morning, so he'll be running a little bit late. With that, why don't we move down? Item B, the adoption of our agenda. Is there any additions, deletions, any amendments to the agenda as presented? Seeing none? Go ahead, Mark.
Move the adoption of the agenda for today's meeting.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has moved to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And moving down, adoption of the minutes. Before you have the County Council meeting minutes of December 18th, 2025. I believe there was just in the attendance. There was a couple of errors in the attendance. Deputy Reeve Kurbis wasn't present, and I'm not sure about the rest of the staff, though. That was just one thing that Mark had flagged. Anything else in the minutes? If not, entertain a motion. Kevin?
Move to adopt the minutes from the council meeting from December 18th.
As amended?
Yes.
Okay. Kevin has moved to adopt the County Council meeting minutes December 18th, 2025 as amended. Is there any discussion? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. We have one subdivision application for today. D1 subdivision application 2025-0139. What's happening? Morning, Kaylin. Morning, Steve.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Council. So this is subdivision application 2025-0-139. It is the Peterson Friesen subdivision in southeast quarter 31-922 west of the 4th. It's adjacent to River Ridge Road. This is to subdivide 2.77 acre lot from the 54 acre agricultural title. If you'll recall, in the fall we did hear a rezoning application to rezone the 2.77 acres to group country residential to allow this subdivision to proceed. And with that, I will pass it on to Steve for the planning recommendations.
Good morning. Yeah, this application should be a little bit familiar with in that it was, as mentioned, rezoned recently. It's for a parcel just located south of what we refer to as the Peterson subdivision, which is comprised of 7 similar designated group country residential lots. This 2.77 acre portion of land that is the subject of the subdivision application in front of you this morning is also zoned as group country residential now with that rezoning back in the fall. The applicants are looking to remove that area onto separate title with a yard where there's an existing dwelling there and a detached garage. The southern, which would end up being a 51.35 acre remnant portion, contains a separate yard and dwelling as part of an agricultural operation. That portion of land still has on it the rural agricultural zoning on it. That remnant portion, as you can see, also contains a large portion of undeveloped coulee land on the west side there. So this application is to remove that area that was zoned to the group country. The yard is already developed in place, has all full services there. The private on-site septic is located just on the north side of the dwelling. At the time, back in 2020, when the yard was developed, there was a geotechnical was done at that time, that we have as part of the subdivision file. So when that was developed, the application, as you can see, takes access from the east side there. It's adjacent to River Ridge Road. The two parcels share an existing approach and driveway. So part of the review of this application, there are no abandoned gas wells located in proximity. The dwelling itself, which is existing, but it also, as part of the review, it does lie outside a 300-meter setback from the boundary of a abandoned historical landfill just across the highway to the northeast. The land is identified in an area that potentially contains historical resources by the province. However, since the agenda report was submitted out to you, we did hear back from the province, and they've waived any historical resource requirements, so the applicants don't have to do anything special in that regard. As well, the dwelling meets and exceeds at over twice the distance any required minimum distance separation to the closest confined feeding operation, which is a dairy operation just to the south of this. So overall, the application in front of you, it does conform to the group country residential zoning that was applied, as well to the conceptual design scheme that was submitted back with the redesignation process. The application meets the group country residential criteria of the land use bylaw. So with this application, on that basis, the recommendation is to approve as submitted. As part of the referral, since the package was sent out to you, we have heard back from a few more, Fortis, LNID, and ATCO Transmission on the application. None of them have any objections or concerns on it. So with that, I have recommended an approval to you. It would be subject to the provision of a municipal reserve payment on that 2.77 acre area being subdivided, which the value came in at $12,000 per acre. So that'd be a payment of approximately $3,240 to the county for your reserve fund. Then subject to that, the standard conditions would be the taxes are paid up to date, a development agreement enter into if the county requires anything in that regard, a final surveyor sketch, the applicants. It's not necessarily a requirement of the county, but just for their own convenience, the applicants would like to register a joint easement agreement for the existing driveway and approach they share there, just between the two families for their own personal arrangement. Just to simplify things, we'll register that concurrently with the subdivision at the same time. The fifth condition referred to easements there, utility companies, but now that we've heard back, we don't require anything. And on the draft that came out to you, there was the requirement there for the Ministry of Arts, Culture, and Status of Women in regards to historical resources. But now, since we've heard back from them, it won't be required to do anything in that regard. But on that basis, with that, those conditions outlined, the recommendation is to approve as the applicants have submitted.
Thank you, Steve. I'd open it up to council for any questions or discussion. Go ahead, Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So did you say there was a house and a garage on the building, on the property?
Pardon me?
Did you say there was a house and a garage on the property?
On the lot, yes.
Oh, because I don't see it in the picture. Or maybe I'm looking at the wrong.
Well, in this photo here, it might not shown up. This might be the, that.
It's,
Yeah, so through Councillor Lauren, through the chair, there is a mobile home on the property. I don't think this aerial is up to date. It's in here is the location.
okay.
Yeah.
It is a mobile home.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I can, because this is in close proximity to where I live, I can attest that, yeah, there is a mobile home that's been put on there in a garage. That's a GIS that obviously predates that development. But I would like to move that subdivision application 2025-0-139 be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in the draft resolution.
Thank you, John. Is there any discussion? John has moved that subdivision application 2025-0-139 be approved subject to conditions as outlined in the draft resolution. There's no further discussion. Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. If we move down to our department reports, F1, Development Infrastructure, F1.1, Residential Strategy 2026 Review, Project Plan. Thank you. Morning, Hannah.
Good morning. So the planning and development team, we're ramping up on what more long-range planning activities that we need to start conducting, reviewing, making sure that the county is remaining competitive and in line with what the market needs. So our first undertaking here in 2026 is going to be the residential land use strategy. And I just want to give a presentation to council what work we've done to date on background data, as we do have a strategy in place. So Hannah's done some really good work on what has happened in the county since we adopted our last land use strategy for residential, and then the plan moving forward on how we're going to engage with the community and prepare a new strategy. So this is for information only, and happy to answer any questions. So Hannah's happy to join myself too. She's going to cover all the background data she's done. So like I said, it's I'll go over what the group country residential strategy is if you're not aware of its existence, the project plan, background, and the engagement strategy. So the group country residential strategy is what exists today. It only actually covers group country residential. And so we're actually shifting it to be a residential strategy for the county, encompassing our hamlets, our isolated residential within agriculture, just looking a little bit beyond that group country residential category. So our strategy that we have today, it was adopted by council in June 2020. It really identifies suitable siting criteria for group country residential development. It is intended to provide some direction for considering residential proposals, and it is required to be reviewed on a 5-year cycle to make sure it's relevant with market conditions. Just something to keep in mind, it doesn't play out the future. It doesn't have a lot of implementation steps of like what actions the county can take to support residential development. So like that's something we're taking on as my team, is making sure that planning documents and strategies we do present to council have an action plan and what are the next steps out of a long-range planning document. So in terms of the project plan, like I said, there's been several market trends, different servicing challenges. We can all say the market has changed since 2020. So really my team's objectives in conducting this strategy will be a comprehensive forward-looking framework to guide future residential development in the county. So we want to make sure we're aligning with our current policy frameworks, all our intermunicipal development plans, reflect current and future residential needs. Since I joined the county, I'm ongoingly hearing different residential challenges in buildings, so let's go have those conversations, and that's the next big key driver, is incorporating public and stakeholder feedback. The last time we drafted this strategy, there was no stakeholder engagement. Integrating that infrastructure servicing consideration, making sure we're promoting sustainable and strategic growth, and then providing those clear implementation tools so we're going in the right direction. The team has identified several stakeholders we need to engage with and involve in this project, so that being industry, those developers, builders, consultants, realtors, all of those people that are calling the county with different application ideas, being the front line on moving land in our county, having those conversations of what they are seeing on the ground from their experts. And then the public, rural and urban residents, people that live in isolated farmsteads to group country residential hamlets, we need to really understand what do they want to see the future of Lethbridge County to look like, and getting that input will really help guide what kind of policy discussions we need to have with council. So in terms of project phases, we did a lot of background in 2025 because this policy was up for renewal, and Hannah's going to review that data that we went through in 2025. We are going out for engagement from January to March, and I'm looking to wrap up that engagement with a council workshop for you to be able to hear what the public said and what kind of different ideas came about in the engagement. So you will get to hear that direct information. We'll be developing the strategy over April into August, and then be able to come back to council in the fall and kind of wrap up the strategy by the end of the year. So we are implementing a new residential direction by 2027. So this goes into the background that Hannah wants to share.
Yes. So I'll start off with a little preamble. The project included both looking at ASPs, rezoning, subdivisions, all the way down to residential development. So we looked at it all, compiled all of the stats, and then went top down. Starting with ASPs, in 2021 to 2025, we had 6 new area structure plans with varying levels of success. The most successful ones were Chin Meadows and Countryside. Ones that did not pan out so well were McLean Acres. This was a huge one that really has not left the ground at all. We had one that's pending, which is the amendment to Edward Stables. And then Ramius was one that was a smaller subdivision that just never really panned out. So we really did not have great stats this time, but I think it gave us a lot of learning curve, or lessons learned. Yes. And then I looked at all ASPs we've done in terms of residential development and how successful they were. Starting in the 80s, we only had 2 big ones, one that was successful and one that never reached subdivision phase. Then in the 90s, we started to see more mid-size ASPs closer to urban centers. So this includes around Lethbridge, around the corridor to Lethbridge and Coaldale. These were very successful. By the 2000s, we started to see less lots being developed and not all ASPs being fully fleshed out. Then by the 2010s, several lots in certain ASPs were undeveloped, and we started to see larger ASPs not fully pan out and not reach subdivision phase. By the 2020s, it's really a large ASP that's bringing down our total so much, and the fact that many of these are still in the beginning stages. Then I moved on to subdivisions, and I found that most of our subdivisions are isolated. Only a third account for the group country residential aspect. And a third of these new subdivisions needed new servicing. So hauled water is the primary source of servicing for our new subdivisions. And then a third is with the water co-ops, and they split it evenly. Overall, subdivision has a very high follow-through rate. Most of these are first parcels out of the quarter, though.
Okay, so this moves into our hamlets. As I said, group country residential strategy didn't look at hamlets in the past. In the last 5 years, we've had 13 subdivisions occur in our hamlets, mostly actually occurring in Monarch. So the rest of our hamlets didn't have any subdivisions during this time. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So subdivision in the hamlet, are we resplitting lots? What are we doing there?
Thank you, Councillor Van Essen, through the chair. So there was situations where there was full blocks in Monarch. The county, I know, undertook one where we created 5 lots on a block. So it's resplitting existing lots in hamlets. It was what we've seen in the last 5 years. Yeah. So this moves to our land use districts. This is a review of all the development permits we issued for residential new dwellings in the county. Most of those residential dwellings are being built on rural ag parcels. Over 56% were in a rural ag location, and then 24% were in a group country residential zone, and 11% were in hamlet residential. So just an overview of where we are issuing house permits in the county. And then I think this moves to like the most interesting map that Hannah did a really good job on. This is a heat map of all of those residential dwellings in the last 5 years and where they are located from a heat perspective. So that really dark red, there's a heavy concentration of of residential dwellings. I think the trend that really comes out of this data is just the pure isolated nature of residential in the county. We are really building everywhere. There's not one concentration or trend occurring. And it's just something for us to keep in mind while we consider challenges in operations and infrastructure. When we're dispersing ourselves so widely, it's very challenging to meet servicing expectations. So that is a big data information dump, but we have a little bit more. So then the team, as a multidisciplinary team, we kind of sat down, what are the gaps and challenges, opportunities that we think internally exist, that we really think we need to have a conversation about. So infrastructure and operations, servicing requirements, our group country residential strategy right now, anything over 5 lots requires to be connected to a municipal service, whether that's a co-op line or a city line. That is really detrimentally impacting area structure plans, and I don't have a really rhyme or reason why number 5 lot triggers that. So that's just an interesting thing that exists. Drainage in the county is always a challenge, and that's something we need to keep in mind. Service delivery for isolated residential, like you just seen that heat map, as we keep dispersing ourselves, it is going to be a challenge to provide service delivery when isolated residential is happening everywhere. Regulatory challenges, our land use bylaw, it's comprehensive but not. There's not a lot of flexibility in there. One thing I've heard a lot about is group country residential. People want to have small businesses on their residential lot. That is currently not allowed, so we need to have that discussion if that's a direction we want to take. Fire protection, I've had a lot of conversations with Heath about whether supposed fire ponds would be sufficient, and how do we make sure that the county is protected if we are locating residents everywhere. So we need to start talking about solutions for that. Conservation of ag land base, we say it's important and it is a priority for the county, but we need to reflect that in policy, so make sure that's reflected. And then local context, we talk about it all the time. The county is not urban. We need to make sure we're managing expectations, but there is a lot of market pressures because we are have those urban bases. We also have a large ag industry in managing those land use conflicts and traffic. But all of those gaps and challenges lead to opportunities. So really from an infrastructure operations perspective, we have an opportunity here to evaluate servicing and innovative ideas. There's lots out there, so let's go out to engage with the industry and see what they propose for water solutions, just as an example. Regulatory, we have ability to amend the land use bylaw if that is a direction the council wants to take. So let's go acquire some ideas of what would better suit the market. And then county context, we need to be the leader of residential development. We need to be purposeful for where we locate housing. And I think this just opens up that conversation. And lastly, the agricultural quality and our industrial commercial priority growth areas, making that align with where our residential growth strategy is. And so then the next activity Hannah undertook was actually a jurisdictional scan of municipalities that have undertook land use bylaws, municipal development plans in recent years. So they have updated their major statutory documents in the last couple of years. And she just tried to pull out some key themes, ideas that we could really draw from for the county.
Yes, thank you. So the first key theme I found was that servicing is left mainly to the ASP phase. They don't really talk about in their land use bylaws or even their MDPs what specific areas will require what serving. It's a very case-by-case basis based on what they have available and what will complement the community that's being proposed. So specific servicing requirements are really only left to hamlets and areas with established municipal servicing. Mixed use, several municipalities have land use districts that support a wider range of both residential and commercial uses. In group country residential, you are severely restricted on what you can do. Whereas in other municipalities, you could have items like a general store or things that complement a quieter community. And new residential growth was encouraged in areas that could be both a service center and a place for people to live. So it complements each other. And this leads into more sustainable growth patterns that I saw many municipalities trying to grow towards. Residential development is redirected into areas where there's already residential development. New kind of ASPs in the middle of nowhere providing a lot of housing is not really something most municipalities will consider. So hamlets, larger residential areas, and areas that have commercial, industrial, and larger employment centers are more valuable in terms of locating things. And, sorry, I lost my train of thought. And conservation is really important for these municipalities as they also experience a lot of urban growth pressures. Many will require agriculture impact assessments. They will require smaller lot sizes to conserve both agriculture and natural areas. And they place a lot of precedence on high-quality agricultural lands and how they can be preserved with their residential strategy. And this leads to really leveraging hamlets as main areas for growth. Most municipalities have growth hamlets where residential development is actively encouraged, where there's ample servicing, community supports, and infrastructure to support a wide range of residents.
So that was a lot of information, and now it's the next step of the project. We need to go start talking to industry and the public about how have things been going, how is developing in the county gone, what challenges have they faced, and move that conversation just a little bit forward. So we've worked with Maddie and Kelsey really hard to align our branding for planning with brighter futures and all of that. So really the engagement you're going to hear is together, let's plan the place we call home, just to align with the Lethbridge County vision and voice. So one of our methods will be the survey. There'll be a public survey. Really the question is, why Lethbridge County? What does it mean to you to live in Lethbridge County? What are we getting right? What are we getting wrong? What challenges are they facing on their property? What would they like to see changed? What is their top priority for residential growth? Does the public want to conserve ag land? Like, what is their priorities? And leading into like recreation that they access, because to date we don't usually dedicate municipal reserve in group country residential areas, but would they like to see that? So opening just the conversation so that we can bring it back into all of the data and have a discussion back with council on direction that we're taking in residential growth. The second method will be industry workshops. We have compiled a list of all of the applicants, developers, consultants that kind of apply to the county, talk to the county, those larger real estate associations that represent the region, and we're going to invite them to a workshop here at the county office, facilitated by myself and Maddie and Kelsey, and we'll ask them the hard questions and hopefully get those true answers of what challenges they're facing, what ideas they have, and this collaborative effort will be really appreciated by industry, but also allow us to get that kind of that inside scoop of what they're seeing and know is wanted. So we'll send out those invites at the end of January, and there'll be workshops in late February to early March. Like I said, information sharing, understanding opportunities and challenges, and gather those new ideas will really be the objectives. And then that will all bring back to council. I'm hoping sometime in April that we can host a council workshop and really review what we heard and consider some options and set some direction before we write a strategy with policy. And that is all of my presentation. So any questions?
Thank you very much. I would open it up to council for any questions you'd have at this time. Or John or...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not so much a question, but a comment, and I appreciate the effort that you guys are putting into this, and I think it's an important step for us to look at. And one of the wonderful things about rural lifestyle is that there are varied options, and even if you look around the room with our councils here, you know, there's something for everybody that wants to live in rural, and I think it's really important that, you know, when we're looking at it from a legislation standpoint, that we keep that in mind to make sure that there is the flexibility for people to, you know, live the lifestyle that they want to live where they want to live, and with the a reasonable amount of restrictions as opposed to it being extraordinary prescriptive and saying, well, I'm sorry, you can't put that there because it's, because we have a rule that says that. And a lot of times, I think, you know, frankly, most of the complaints that I get and call from people is like, why does that matter? You know, so I appreciate the effort, and I think that it's very timely, and I look forward to the process.
Thanks, Sean. Lauren?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, yeah, again, thanks for the work. I think it's kind of long overdue, and will answer a lot of questions that are out there. A couple of things. The group country residential we approved on Highway 512, just east of the jail there. Does that not also have small business in their lots there? So that, is that a first, or is that something you would move towards more than?
Thank you, Councillor Hickey, through the chair. So that specific one is countryside. We had to go direct control with that applicant because we don't have a conventional zone that allows the mixed use. So it definitely was a first in the county. It's been very popular from what I understand and exciting to see. Whether we would go in that direction, that is a decision by council to be made through this strategy, but it is something I'm hearing from a day-to-day basis of a desire to locate small businesses with their home. So yeah, countryside over there east of the city was our first, yeah.
Okay, and then just one other thing you mentioned, and that was the fire ponds. Like, we had them and then we got rid of them. So are we looking at getting them back, or how does that, I'm kind of confused as to what you're thinking about there.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey, through the chair. So there's really no answer. It's the question of, like, are fire ponds the answer? What is the answer to fire protection? And right now, because of how isolated and spread out our residential is and limited water servicing, we need to sit down and have that conversation. Heath and I have brainstormed some ideas of, well, if there is no fire protection, what protection do we put in on the county? And so maybe it's a corporation of a caveat on title to recognize that there is limited fire protection in this location. So there's a lot of different tools we can use to address fire protection. We just need to set a path of how we're addressing it. Because like you said, the fire ponds were there, now they're not. We don't really have a lot of guidance on that right now.
Any other questions?
Sorry, just to follow up on the fire aspect of it, there has been a principle throughout life that, you know, there is a voluntary assumption of risk at times. And I think it's important for us as a legislative body to understand and realize that we are really not in a position to offer, you know, the same ability of fire service to somebody that's 2 blocks from a fire hall to somebody that is 10K from a fire hall. And insurance companies recognize that, and they have their classifications of insurance for individuals that are farther away. You know, they work from right from protected to unprotected, and they rate accordingly. So I think it's important for us to remember that as well. You know, if we were in a situation where we were going to protect all of our residents equally, their tax burden would be unobtainable or unsustainable.
Thank you, John. Is there any other comments or questions? Thank you both very much for this. I think it's been said, but I think it's a worthwhile conversation. I think we hear a lot about, you know, this very topic. And I think if you go on MLS at any time and you look at the demand, what's out there versus what's available, I think it's cost prohibitive to live in the county, to be quite honest. There's just not a whole bunch out there most of the time, and it's not cheap to live a rural lifestyle at all times. So I think that's an important conversation, is what do we want to be as a municipality? I think the nature of what the county is, having so much irrigation, and the fact that most of our irrigation takes place with a circular center pivot irrigation system that affords us those 3.5, those 5, those 7 acre dry corners. It creates a unique challenge or unique opportunity depending on how you see it. I appreciate the conversation around the hamlets. I think that's something we've been talking about for a long time. It's the opportunity that lies there, but with that opportunity, the challenges around servicing and making sure that we can grow those hamlets. Maybe just one question though, Kaylin. I know you had mentioned and just maybe anecdotally off the top of your head with some of the conversations you've had, what are some of the challenges that you're hearing, I guess, just again, anecdotally speaking?
Thank you, Chair. Really, challenges, mixed use is one I've heard a lot of, and it's leading to a lot of direct controls, which as a planner I do want to avoid. The water is what is hanging up area structure plans, and because we do have that rule, anything over 5 lots needs to be municipally connected. There is area structure plans just sitting in stagnation because of that. 2 acres, I've heard that a few times, definitely, why that number, and like if they can accommodate it more efficiently at a 1.2 acre, or splitting a lot. I could buy this lot in the county, but I can't afford to keep the whole land. I can build on half of it, so lot size is definitely something coming up. Yeah, I think those would be the main kind of development questions I have right now, just being someone new to the county. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you very much. Look forward to it. Thank you. F2, Growth and Engagement. F2.1, Advancing Women in Agriculture and Food Conference, AWC.
Good morning, Chair and Council. So as you can see in the report before you, we did receive a request for funding support to send a University of Lethbridge student to the Advancing Women in Agriculture and Food Conference in Calgary. That takes place in March of this year. The funding is sort of outside the norm, which is why it's before you, because it's not a standard sponsorship. It is not flowing to the University of Lethbridge as a community partner, but rather the conference organizer. Part of the reason you may wish to consider this particular request is that, of course, agriculture is an important part of the county and its business model. This is an opportunity to attach the county's brand to this particular conference and have a presence. At the same time, you do have lots of requests throughout the year, and you have only a certain allocation of funds to do those kinds of things, so you need to make that trade-off. And so that's why it's before you today for consideration.
Thank you, Trevor. I would open up to council for any questions or discussion you might have. Eric and Kevin. Eric?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Read through this, tried to find a good reason to support it outside of what our regular contributions are supporting the students that we're already doing, and a variety of those things. I did not find anything substantial to merit putting out the funding above what we currently support, so I would not be supporting it. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Good, Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Basically kind of the same idea as Eric here. I mean, it's everything that we kind of stand for as a county, so it's hard to say no to it. But yeah, I'm kind of in that same thing. There's lots of asks, and it's hard to grant all those. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? I'm not seeing consensus of support, so I think we'll just accept that and move forward. Thanks, Trevor. Moving down, F3 Administration, F3.1 Upcoming Conferences.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up a couple of upcoming conferences. Obviously, next week is the ASB conference, and we've got 4 councillors going to that. March 16th to 18th is the RMA conference in Edmonton. The hotel that we typically stay at has drastically changed how they do their RMA bookings. Having said that, we were not able to get rooms at that hotel this go around. So I do have 3 rooms booked at the Westin
will there be a funding request for that one coming forward, Candace?
I assume so.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we've got RMA, 16th, 18th. Thoughts on, or if you intend on attending or not, and then the CPAA, April 27th, 29th in Red Deer. Red Deer? Is that right, Candace?
Yes, in Red Deer.
Yeah. RMA. I don't plan on attending, so I don't need a room or anything for that, Candace.
You just want to show the hands on that, maybe, or?
How would you like to, yeah, thoughts? Tony?
Can I get a little bit of background on what CPAA is?
Sure. Go ahead, Kaylin.
It's the Community Planners Association of Alberta, so it's an organization representing community planners. I myself intend on it.
I would say usually, so Hillary previously, our planner, attended, and usually anywhere from 2 to 4 members of council have attended, I would suggest. It's one that the timing kind of sucks for me, so I've never attended it in my time, but I've always heard good things from those that do attend.
Lauren was up there too.
Yeah, well, there's 4 hands up. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just wondering. I was just wondering, what was the first one you said before RMA?
The ASB conference.
Ag Service Board next
Oh,
week.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, in regards to RMA and CPA, I plan to attend both. But just to give some background to the new members about CPAA, it's, I find a lot of value in that conference because it is a mixture of urban and rural planners and counselors. And given, our endeavor for our new residential and group country residential strategy, it might be something for some of the new members to take a look at, because there's a lot of good breakout sessions that are insightful about how urban planners do things, but there is a lot of spin-off in terms of what we could take and put a rural lens on. So I think there's pretty good value in that.
Go ahead, or Kevin, Mark, go ahead. You guys.
I was just going to say, moving forward, I think there's going to be more pressure on us to decide about conferences. So perhaps we could maybe, as we move forward, look at rotating through. So if we send like two of our elected officials to a conference like the CPAA, and just rotate, so over a 4-year term, everybody has a shot at going to one of the conferences instead of sending 4 of us. So that's a discussion we had a few years ago too. So I think given the financial constraints we're under too, that we need to start to look at and be respectful of the money that we're spending on these conferences. But to John's point, I agree there's a lot of value to it. But I think if there's a willingness or an interest for all the council, that we could just rotate it through, so we're not sending a group in. It sounds like it's getting tougher and tougher to book hotel rooms and just the organization. The spring convention too, I think that there's over the years, the fall one's the main one that we all attend, but the spring one, that's up to the council. So anyway, that's just my thoughts.
Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know for myself, I'd love to go to the CPAA one, but same kind of thing as you. It's in a seating time and all that stuff. So if I could go, it'd be great. But otherwise, if there's other guys, give her. And same thing with March one. That one I should be able to go to if we choose to do that. But yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
I would be interested in attending the CPAA, but I'm not sure about RMA. I might not be here. I'll have to let you know. But I also think it's great value to attend, and I'm not sure limiting it to 2 is probably the best scenario at times.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've started on these discussions and we hope to flesh them out this spring, but I'm fully there on the, strategically attending conferences and not going for either the sake of it or, yeah, there's value, but is there value for people to bring the same report back, bringing information back, and that can be done on a smaller group. So I do not intend on attending RMA or CPAA. We made the fall RMA, and I got Ag Services next week to take care of. So, but anything coming forward on being strategic on attending, I look forward to supporting.
So for the matter at hand then, just so Candace has 3 rooms secured for RMA, do we need more than 3 rooms? I think that's the real question, is we want to attack that as quickly as we can, just to make sure we have rooms. So do we have more than 3?
Go to the RMA.
Okay, so we have 2. Mark, you're, no, okay, 2. You'd like 2? There's our 3, and Lauren, you're,
I don't know yet.
okay.
Well, it's easier to book and cancel than it would be to try to find out.
Yes and no,
Yes
right?
and no.
Yeah.
The problem with the other one is that they weren't gonna let us cancel them. They were gonna charge us for all the rooms that I had booked, even though previously I could cancel them up to like 2 days before. So, yes and no.
Why don't you book all 3, and if Lauren, if it works for you to go, then I'll bow out,
No.
we'll work together. Cause for my schedule, that's right when we're kinda getting into everything, so I'm sure we'll make, if you can't go, I'll go, but, yeah.
I think the 3 will work then, Candace. And then for CPAA, we are 1,
I have 3 already, Kevin, Lauren, and John. So just Tony, if you wanna go, John.
Sorry, to which one?
the CPAA.
in April.
I would like to, but it's kind of at the same time of
Yeah.
seeing everything, so.
Well, we'll just say the course there too then, maybe. Okay? You're good with that, Candace?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah, you bet. Okay, so it's about 10 to 10. We do have our 2 public hearings, and I missed earlier, we have 1 additional time commitment. We do have a 10:30 delegation, a closed session delegation as well. So why don't we take a 10-minute recess, and we'll reconvene at Thank you, everyone. We'll call the meeting back to order at 10 o'clock this morning. As I previously mentioned, we have 2 public hearings today. So we will recess our regular meeting. Our first public hearing, here today to hold the public hearing for Bylaw 25-025, amendment to land use bylaw to redesignate 230019 River Ridge Road, Plan 9312230, Block 1, Lot 1, from Group Country Residential to Direct Control. Public hearing is being held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act as amended. This public hearing is being live streamed via the county's YouTube page. With that, I would ask for a motion to open the public hearing for Bylaw 25-025. Go ahead, Mark.
Move that we move it into the public hearing.
Mark has moved to open the public hearing for Bylaw 25-025. Is there any further discussion? I'll call a question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. With that, the public hearing for Bylaw 25-025 is now officially open. I'll now ask for a review of the nature of the hearing and an overview of what is being proposed. Hello again, Kaylin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Council. So this is public hearing for Bylaw 25-025. It is for the redesignation of a parcel on River Ridge Road, 230019 River Ridge Road to, from Group Country Residential to Direct Control. I will pull up the map here. There it is. So this application, if you call from first reading, it is a existing business, the Riverbrink Estates Florals. They are operating a U-pick floral arranging business. They were issued a violation order in September 2025 because they weren't permitted to have this activity on a Group Country residential parcel. But that being said, they've been very open and willing to work with the county throughout this entire process. So the proposed direct control bylaw, it does permit a limited commercial use that complements the residential nature of the subdivision, which is the Wild Rose Acres subdivision, also referred to as Riverbrink Area Structure Plan. So the bylaw really sets parameters for these commercial activities and intensity that allows this U-pick business to exist. So the site plan only allows a very specific portion of the property to be commercial. Sorry, let me pull up this one. So this yellow area is the only area of the lot that is permitted to host the public business. They are only allowed a maximum of 25 customers at one time and can't exceed 100 customers per week, and that was agreed upon with the applicant. Customer visitation is limited to only 8 hours per week, and how they schedule that is under their discretion. Visitor parking must be provided on site, so they can't have any parking on county road allowance. And a maximum of 2 single-day outdoor events can be held per year. So these are these larger events that that's how we became aware of the business operating. And those events can be up to 50 vehicles at one time, 110 vehicles per event. Then they have the appropriate amount of parking just along River Road that would accommodate that number of vehicles. In addition, there is a detached garage that currently contains.
Thank you. A secondary suite without permits, and so the redesignation to direct control would also allow the secondary suite to continue to exist. In terms of circulation, we received no objections related to this application. Internal departments just emphasized the importance of ensuring there's adequate on-site parking. And Alberta Transportation advised that a permit under the Highway Development and Protections Act would be required prior to development. In terms of public consultation, the applicant did conduct informal consultation prior to submitting this application and received positive feedback. The county also issued a formal notification in October in which we received no objections. I did receive one comment from the adjacent landowner, which was actually supporting this application. In terms of this public hearing, a notification was then sent again, and we have heard no comment. So the recommendation in front of council today is for Bylaw 25-023 to be read a second and a third time. And that wraps up my comments.
Is that an error, or am I just mistaken on the bylaw number, Kaylin? It's 20. Is it 22? Or
It's 25, yep, on the
Okay.
recommendation,
No, I
there's
just
an
saw it in
error.
the recommendation there.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kaylin. This is council's opportunity to receive input from the public. Those making presentations are asked to state their name and review their points. We ask you refrain from asking questions to council. The intention of the public hearing is not to debate or defend the contents of the bylaw or the position which individual councilors may have on the bylaw. Questions asked of a councilor by a presenter may be ruled out of order. Presentations of council will start with the applicant who has made a submission, followed by any other persons wishing to comment on the proposal. Please keep your comments to the point. After each speaker, members of council will be permitted to ask questions of the presenter to clarify any details. No debating or questions from the floor will be allowed. Each speaker will be allotted up to 10 minutes. Additional time may be granted at the discretion of council. With that, I would ask if the applicant who is submitted would like to speak.
I will answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions? If not, I will ask again if there's anyone else wishing to speak. And I'll ask for a third and final time if there is anyone else wishing to speak. If not, I would ask for a motion to, and if there's nothing further, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Eric. Eric's moved to close the public hearing for bylaw 25-025. Are there any further questions for Kaylin at this time? If not, how would you like to proceed?
You can call the roll.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. To close the public hearing. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, John. Is there, yeah, go ahead, Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This has been presented well, and I see no questions. I'd like to move that bylaw 25-025 be read a second time.
Thank you, Eric. Eric's moved the recommendation that bylaw 25-025 be read for a second time. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that bylaw 25-025 be read a third time.
Thank you, John. John has moved that bylaw 25-025 be read for a third time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. We can move down for our second public hearing. Public hearing for bylaw 25-027, amendment to the land use bylaw to redesignate southeast 1921 west of 4 from direct control, or from direct control to direct control. Is that correct? I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing for bylaw 25-027. John?
Thank you. I'd like to move that we move into a public hearing for bylaw 25-027.
Thank you, John. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call a question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Public hearing is being held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act as amended. Public hearing is being live streamed via the county's YouTube page. The public hearing for bylaw 25-027 is now officially open. I will ask for a review of the nature of the hearing and an overview of what is being proposed. Kaylin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So bylaw 25-027, it is an amendment to the land use bylaw from a direct control to a direct control, subject to the southeast 1921 west of the 4th property. So it is over in the countryside area structure plan. Here it is. So you may recall last fall there was a development permit application in this specific parcel where there was a height variance that council had to allocate, and it was specifically because there was administrative errors in the direct control that had been approved by council. And so administration has undertaken a number of amendments in collaboration with the applicant to ensure that this direct control is monitoring the correct setbacks and height requirements that are needed, while also allowing the development to proceed in an efficient, effective manner. So a number of the inconsistencies that are being addressed in this amendment are the building height, as we discussed. For accessory buildings, 28 feet is the maximum height, which is consistent with our land use bylaw for similar accessory buildings in commercial industrial sites and group country residential. Clarifying the development authority as It previously was quoting a past land use bylaw, as this direct control was previously passed while the last land use bylaw was approved. So there was some incorrect referencing. So just to serve administration for clarity, the development authority for permitted and discretionary uses will be administration. County council will remain the approving authority if there's any waivers required, which will likely be minimized now that we're updating all of the regulations in the direct control. Updating the accessory building provisions, making sure the maximum total area for the accessory building is correct and aligns with existing land use bylaw. And then updating uses. There was a number of allowable uses that were inconsistent with the intent of the area structure plan and really what the developer intended to do. I spoke directly with the landowner, Blair Frake, and made sure that the uses were aligned with his intent. A really good example was wind energy was actually listed as a discretionary use, and that was not the intention for the nature of it being residential as well as industrial commercial. And then administrative updates, making sure that there's the correct internal references and addressing that it is land use bylaw 24-007 that this direct control belongs to. So making all those updates will make sure it's clear and consistent for the development here to proceed in Countryside. In terms of internal circulation, internal departments and external agencies were circulated and there was no comments received. And we received no comments from the public notification for this public hearing. And with that, we are recommending that bylaw 25-027 be read a second and third time. Thank you.
Thank you, Keelan. This is council's opportunity to receive input from the public. Those making presentations are asked to state their name and review their points. We ask that you refrain from asking questions to council. The intention of the public hearing is not to debate or defend the contents of the bylaw or the position which individual councilors may have on the bylaw. Questions asked of a councilor by a presenter may be ruled out of order. Presentations to council will start with the applicant who has made a submission, followed by any other persons wishing to comment on the proposal. Please keep your comments to the point. After each speaker, members of council will be permitted to ask questions of the presenter to clarify any details. No debating or questions from the floor will be allowed. Each speaker will be allotted up to 10 minutes. Additional time may be granted at the discretion of council. With that, I would ask if there's anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. Ask again, is there anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw? And for a third and final time, I'll ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw. If there is nothing further, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Mark?
I would move that we close the public hearing.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has moved to close the public hearing for bylaw 25-027. Is there any further discussion? I will call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Resuming our public meeting, we have a recommendation for second and third reading. Are there any questions before we move on? Go ahead, Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, is it 25-023 or 27?
Thank you, Councillor Lauren, through the chairman. It's bylaw 25-027. I don't know exactly why all my reports say 23. My mistake.
And then just below that, it says 22.
Yes, it's 25-027.
Okay.
Yep.
Good enough. Thank you.
Kevin. Oh, sorry, Lauren.
That's okay. Go ahead,
You
Kevin.
do first, I'll do second.
I would move second reading for bylaw 25-027.
Thank you, Lauren. Lauren has moved that bylaw 25-027 be read for a second time. Is there any discussion? Now, call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Third reading. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move that bylaw 25-027 be read a third time.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin has moved that bylaw 25-027 be read for a third time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Kaylin. We can move into our correspondence. We have 3 pieces of correspondence before us today. Item G1, Coaldale Public Library. Maybe. Before you have the January, February update from the Coaldale Public Library. outlining some of the programming that's going on at the Coaldale Library, and then as well a calendar outlining all those events and dates and times. Our second piece of correspondence for you received an invitation last week, I believe, from the Southern Alberta Chinese Association, an invitation to join for the Spring Festival celebration, Year of the Snake. I do think that is might be a typo as well. There is also, well, maybe not. The invitation isn't attached, but regardless, we were invited to attend that. I attended last year. I believe Lauren was there as well. It's a really nice evening, and I plan to attend again, and just would extend that to members of council. Tickets are available if anyone else would like to attend. Just connect with Candace on that one. And then moving down, item 3, received this last week as well. On the occasion of the Spring Festival 2026, this is for the Calgary Chinese at the Calgary Chinese Cultural Center regarding their annual celebration. And again, I believe members of council have attended this in the past. This is February 3rd from 6 to 8:30 p.m. So there is an invitation for that as well. I will not be attending that event, but again, if there is interest from council, we do have an invitation. Is there anything further on those 3 pieces of correspondence? If not, let's move down into our updates and take care of our county council updates. Starting in Division 1.
Thank you,
Councillor
Mr. Chair. So on December the 3rd, had a meeting with Trevor Lewington for my thoughts on economic development moving forward. And the 4th was County Council. 5th was the Green Acres Christmas Party. I did attend 7 of them and all together. I won't go through all the rest of them. December the 10th was the AEMA Local Authorities Elected Officials Course. And the 18th was council meeting.
Thank you, Lauren. December 2nd, Cole and I met with the Town of Coalhurst Mayor and CAO, had lunch and talked about some of the opportunities we have to work with the Town of Coalhurst. On 4th, County Council meeting. 6th, attended the annual Mayor's Prayer Breakfast here in Lethbridge at the Agri-Food Hub. The 6th, Coaldale and District Emergency Services Awards Night and Banquet. Was a nice evening, as it usually is. They had entertainment, awards ceremony, a very nice evening, and was fortunate to purchase a very expensive load of gravel in support of the Coaldale District Emergency Services. The 10th, AEMA Local Authority Elected Officials Course. Also on the 10th, met with Cole and I met with the Town of Coaldale Mayor and CEO, again talking about some of the opportunities we have, this time with the Town of Coaldale. 11th, attended the South Grove quarterly meeting. That was a wicked storm that day, so attended virtually. 17th, EDL monthly board meeting. 18th, Lethbridge County Council meeting. 22nd, Mayor Van Ryan invited me to the Town of Coaldale. We did a media signing of the Fire and Emergency Services contract with the Town of Coaldale. And Division 3, Councillor Sayers.
Thank you, Reeve Campbell. December 3rd, I attended my first Link Pathway meeting. December 3rd, also that evening, was FCSS. Those 2 committees back onto each other, and it works out fine. December 4th, Lethbridge County Council. 4th that night was the ORSC meeting and their AGM. December 6th was the CDE's Coaldale District Emergency Services Awards Night and Banquet. Always look forward to going to that and connecting with them, and it's a good evening for us to be part of. December 10th, AEMA Local Authority Elected Officials Course, and the 18th was County Council.
Thank you, Mark. Division 4, Deputy Reeve Curbis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On December 2nd, I had a weekly meeting with Community Futures Executive Director. December 3rd, I had a virtual meeting with Prairies Can representative. That's in relationship to Community Futures. We have a monthly meeting with Prairies Can. December 4th was Lethbridge County Council meeting. December 9th, I had my meeting with Trevor on what my thoughts were with economic development for the county moving forward. December 9th, I also had a Regional Waste Commission meeting, and my weekly meeting with the Community Futures Executive Director. December 10th, I attended the AMMA Local Authorities Elected Officials course. December 12th, I had a Water Co-op Liaison meeting. December 16th, we had our Regional Water Commission meeting, and as well as my weekly meeting with the Executive Director for Community Futures. On December 23rd, we had our Community Futures monthly board meeting, and on December 31st, I had another meeting with Prairie Scan.
Thank you, John. Division 5, Councillor Slum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. December 4 was Lethbridge County Council meeting, and then at night on December 4, Chinook Arch meeting. That was my first one. That was actually pretty cool. So December 6 was Picture Butte Emergency Service Awards, and December 9, the Regional Waste Commission's meeting. December 10, AEMA Local Authority Elected Officials course. December 13, Nobleford Fire Awards, and December 18, Lethbridge County Council meeting.
Thank you, Kevin. Division 6, Councillor Van Essen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 4th, County Council. The 10th, the locally elected officials course. 11th, Picture Butte Chamber of Commerce. Also 11th, met with a resident in the county on growth of their business in the county and how we can support them. The 12th, Water Co-op Liaison meeting, and the 18th, Lethbridge County Council meeting.
Thank you, Eric. Division 7, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman there. On December 10th, the AEMA Local Authorities Officials Course. December 12th, Water Co-op Liaison meeting. December 16th, the Regional Water Commission meeting, and December 18th, the Lethbridge County Council meeting there.
Thank you, Tony. I believe that takes us to the end of the public portion of our meeting. If we move down on our agenda, item J, closed session. We have 3 items before us today. 10:30 a.m. delegation, South Grow, ATIA Section 26, disclosure harmful to intergovernmental relations. Item 2, land disposition, ATIA Section 28, local public body confidences. And item 3, CAO report, ATIA Sections 19, 20, 28, and 29. If there is nothing further in the public portion of our meeting, I would entertain a motion to enter a closed session. Lauren?
I would make a motion to enter closed session.
Thank you, Lauren. Lauren has moved to enter a closed session at 10:23 a.m. this morning. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. Those in favor? business to be dealt with. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Mark? Motion to adjourn. Mark is motion to adjourn at 12:46 this morning. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, everyone.